The grocery store was alive with afternoon light, sunlight pouring through wide glass windows and glinting off polished floors, when one careless sentence cracked the air like a slap. It wasn't loud, and it wasn't cruel on purpose, but it carried a weight that stopped a man in his tracks. A millionaire father pushing a cart filled with organic produce froze when he heard his young son glance toward a frail woman clutching coins at the checkout and murmur that she couldn't buy a turkey. In that ordinary store, under bright daytime skies, a quiet moment became the beginning of something that would change many lives forever. Before the story continues, take a moment right now. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of compassion, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Acts of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The man was named Alaric Boone, a self-made investor whose name appeared in business magazines and charity gala programs. He wore simple clothes, nothing flashy, but the weight of success followed him like a shadow. Alaric had grown up poor, hungry more nights than he liked to remember, and he had promised himself that if he ever escaped that life, his children would never feel the sting of wanting. His son, Micah, was 8 years old, bright and curious, raised in comfort and safety. Alaric had tried to teach him humility, but comfort can sometimes muffle lessons that hardship teaches naturally. The woman standing ahead of them in line was named Rosalind Pike. She held a small basket with a loaf of bread, a carton of eggs, and a few cans of soup. At the end of the belt sat a frozen turkey, wrapped in plastic, its price sticker glaring. Rosalind's hands trembled as she counted wrinkled bills and coins, her face flushed with embarrassment. She had chosen that turkey carefully, imagining her 2 children smiling at a proper meal for the first time in months. The holidays were close, and she wanted one day that felt normal. The cashier scanned the items slowly, the beeping sound echoing louder than it should have. When the total appeared, Rosalind swallowed hard. She recalculated in her head, already knowing the truth. The money in her hand was not enough. She glanced back at the line forming behind her, at strangers pretending not to watch, pretending not to judge. Shame settled heavy on her shoulders, heavier than hunger. That was when Micah, innocent and unfiltered, leaned toward his father and made his observation. He did not mean to wound, but the words landed like a stone dropped into still water, ripples spreading outward. Alaric felt heat rush to his face, not with anger at his son, but with a sudden, piercing clarity. In that moment, he did not see a stranger struggling at a checkout. He saw his own mother years ago, standing in a similar line, wishing she could disappear. Rosalind heard it too. She stiffened, eyes fixed on the counter, willing herself not to cry. She had already decided what to do. She would put the turkey back, smile politely, and pretend she hadn't hoped for more. She had learned how to shrink her dreams to survive. Alaric's heart pounded. This was a test he hadn't expected, placed not on his wealth but on his values. He could correct his son quietly and move on, or he could turn this moment into something that mattered. He thought about the world Micah was growing up in, about the kind of man he wanted his child to become. Lessons taught in words were easy to forget. Lessons taught in action stayed forever. Alaric stepped forward, his cartwheel squeaking softly. He asked the cashier to pause, his voice calm but steady. People in line shifted, annoyed at first, then curious. Rosalind's shoulders tightened, bracing for humiliation or pity, both equally painful. She did not look up. Alaric placed his hand gently on the counter and said he would take care of the entire order. He did not announce it loudly or dramatically. He spoke as if this were the most natural thing in the world. The cashier blinked, then nodded, grateful for the interruption to the tension. Rosalind finally looked up, eyes wide with disbelief. Before she could protest, Alaric added more items to the belt. Fresh vegetables, fruit, milk, bread, and another turkey, bigger than the first. He kept going, his cart slowly emptying onto the counter. The total climbed higher, numbers rising without meaning to him, but carrying a world of meaning for the woman standing beside him. The store had gone quiet. Even the beeping scanner seemed to pause between items. People watched, some with skepticism, some with admiration, others with tears forming quietly. Micah stared up at his father, confused at first, then thoughtful. He watched the woman's face change from shame to shock, from shock to something like hope. Alaric knelt beside his son, right there on the polished floor, not caring who saw. He spoke softly, not scolding, not angry, but earnest. He explained that having money did not make someone better, and lacking it did not make someone less. He told Micah that kindness was not about noticing what people could not do, but about helping them do what they could not manage alone. Micah listened, really listened, his young face serious in a way that surprised everyone watching. Rosalind tried to speak, but her voice caught. She had lived a life where help always came with strings or judgment, and she waited for the catch. Alaric only smiled gently and told her that this was simply one human helping another, nothing more, nothing less. He asked about her children, about their names, about their favorite foods. For the first time in months, Rosalind felt seen instead of pitied. When the transaction was complete, Alaric did something else no one expected. He handed Rosalind a card, not a business card flaunting wealth, but a simple one with a foundation name and a phone number. He explained that the foundation helped families find work, childcare, and stability, and that if she wanted, someone would walk with her through the process. He made it clear there was no obligation, no debt, no embarrassment attached. The daylight streaming through the window seemed brighter as Rosalind gathered her bags. Her hands no longer shook. Her back straightened just a little. She thanked Alaric, but more importantly, she thanked Micah, kneeling to meet his eyes. She told him that his father had given her children more than food. He had given them dignity. Micah nodded, absorbing words that would shape him long after the moment passed. As Rosalind left the store, people parted for her, some offering smiles, some quiet nods of respect. The cashier wiped her eyes. A man at the back of the line paid for the groceries of the person ahead of him, inspired by what he had seen. Kindness moved through the store like a warm current, invisible but powerful. Outside, the afternoon sun wrapped the parking lot in gold. Rosalind loaded the groceries into her old car, tears finally falling freely. She imagined her children's faces when they saw the turkey, the fruit, the abundance. She imagined a future that did not feel like a wall closing in, but a road opening up. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that life could change. Inside the store, Alaric and Micah walked slowly toward the exit. The cart was lighter now, but Alaric's heart felt full. He knew that writing a check was easy. Raising a child who understood compassion was the real work. Micah tugged at his hand and asked questions, thoughtful ones, about why some people struggled and others did not. Alaric answered honestly, not with perfect explanations, but with sincerity. That afternoon became a turning point. Alaric began bringing Micah with him when he volunteered, letting him see the faces behind the numbers, the stories behind the statistics. Micah grew into a young man who noticed, who listened, who acted. The careless sentence he once spoke became a memory that guided him, a reminder of who he did not want to be. Rosalind's life did change. With support, she found stable work, affordable childcare, and eventually a small apartment filled with laughter instead of worry. She never forgot the day in the grocery store, the moment when someone chose kindness without spectacle. Every year after, she volunteered during the holidays, helping other families navigate the same fear she once knew so well. Years later, on another bright afternoon, Micah stood in a similar store, now an adult, watching a woman hesitate at the checkout. He remembered the lesson taught without anger, without shame. He stepped forward, heart steady, and paid it forward, not because he was rich, but because he was human. If this story has touched you, if it has reminded you of the quiet power of compassion and the ripples one small act can create, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Acts of Kindness. Your engagement helps spread stories that remind us who we can be. Before we end, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and share your thoughts or a moment when kindness changed your life. Your words may inspire someone reading them today, because sometimes, in the middle of an ordinary day, in the bright light of a grocery store, a single choice can turn shame into hope. Teach a child what truly matters, and remind all of us that humanity is richest where kindness lives.